Welcome to the Wander Mode podcast, where we celebrate the fearless spirit of women embracing life's wanderings. Where every story is a spark of inspiration and reminds us that sometimes the most beautiful moments happen when we simply embrace wherever the journey may lead. Super excited today to be chatting with Annie Kaiser. Annie is the dynamic founder of Silk Road Wellness. She is a gal driven by her passion to empower women through holistic wellness. And her mission really is to share the transformative power of natural remedies. Her entrepreneurial spirit shines through with innovative products like waterless formulas, solid lotion bars, and even deodorant bars. They are all Halal-Certified, and they truly reflect her commitment to both quality and inclusivity. I couldn't be more excited to chat with Annie today so that you can hear about how she is leading the way for women in wellness and entrepreneurship. Hi, Annie. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's my pleasure to be here.
Let's jump into what was life like prior to you starting your skincare and wellness products?
I've always really been into the alternative lifestyle and just herbal medicines and remedies. And being of a South Asian background, I'm Pakistani by birth. There's a wealth of traditions. There's a lot of information within our Islamic faith as well. I'm Muslim. And, I've always been really interested in all those herbal remedies and just traditional wellness. Prior to actually becoming an entrepreneur, my background is in journalism and creative writing. So, lots of book writing, copy editing, a lot of research background, really. And then I've always loved books. So just anything that I could get my hands on, like from a very young age, I've just been a constant reader. And that kind of really culminated into what was the beginnings of Silk Road Wellness about 16 years ago when I became a new parent. Just really realizing how toxic body care products can be, and then not wanting to use that on my children. And then obviously I had been using that all my life. And at that point, it was just like, I didn't want anything to do with all the toxic chemicals like phthalates and parabens that really contribute to how women's bodies can become sick over time, really. So about 16 years ago, after I became a new mom, it just really hit me that there's really nothing like that in the market out there. I grew up here in the United States, and from a very young age, we are taught to basically read ingredient lists because we're Muslims and we can't use alcohol within our diet, or we can't consume alcohol or any pork derivatives, animal derivatives that are not slaughtered in a specific way, which is known as halal. And that made me realize that there's no representation for Muslims and for things that we use. There's really nothing like that on the market. I mean, even at that point, the idea wasn't to start a business. It was mainly for personal use. And then I just started making things, just experimenting based on the books that I had read, based on just like the research I had done, based on whatever I had grown up with. Like I remember my mom or my grandmother just telling us to use like a specific oil if we like sprained our ankle, or using like turmeric or something on our face because it's really good for the skin. So, I mean, just having that background information really helped a lot, I think.
There's a few things that you said there that really resonate with me, but the biggest one being as a fellow mom, I think a lot of us make choices sometimes with whatever, putting a certain type of sunscreen with a certain chemical, like you're saying, on your baby. It's crazy how quickly that shift can happen in our minds as moms, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the maternal instinct really comes to life.
Yes, it does. I have incredibly sensitive skin, which is actually part of the reason I'm very excited to talk with you today, because there's so many products out there that just cause me to have hives, for example, like a lot of sunscreens and that sort of thing. I've always just tolerated it because it's like, well, these are the brands that are out there and this is what I have to deal with. And if I have to deal with the hives, it is what it is. And then I had my daughter, and then I was thinking, oh my goodness, like I'm going to go put this on her delicate little skin.
Yeah.
And if her skin's anything like my skin, it's going to
Yeah.
be a really big problem.
Yeah, a brand new baby in front of you, and you're like, you want, obviously with the maternal instinct, and then just wanting to have the best for your offspring, really, like, because and I
Yes.
think becoming aware as consumers, I think that has really helped a lot of people too, because back in the day when all these things were beauty and wellness, it was not that big of an industry. I want to say about 100 years ago, women and people have always wanted to beautify themselves. I think that's human nature. But I think just having access to a lot of mass consumerism and different ingredients, and then just being able to make things, a lot of it unfortunately just boils down to making money for people. It doesn't matter what's in there. Like, for example, bars of soap that we buy off the shelf, just like at regular stores, they're not even classified as soap. They're classified as a beauty bar or just a detergent bar, because it's like the chemicals that are used to make it, they're so harsh. They're basically used for washing clothes. And here we are trying to wash our bodies and our faces with it. Of course, there's going to be repercussions.
One of the things that you said that led you to wanting to create this product as well was that there weren't products out there on the market that were halal certified, and it didn't meet the needs of the Muslim community. One of the articles that I was reading, you had indicated that there are 1.8 billion Muslims worldwide, and this is an underserved group of people as it relates to the skincare industry. That's a really big thing to take on. Was that intimidating?
That's a great question. Actually, so when we started, I was just making things for personal use at that point. And then when I would talk to my friends or family about it, the first thing that would come out of their mouths was, oh, I didn't know that such and such ingredient was in that product. I didn't know that we can't use it, because people don't know the ingredients that are in our body care products. They don't know that there are animal derivatives or alcohol or other ingredients that mix together to create even more toxic ingredients, right? They don't know that there's like dried up beetle shells.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. There's like, especially in lipsticks, and the colors and the dyes that are used, they're not ethically sourced. For example, the mica that's produced, that's connected with child labor. There's so many layers to things. And when you raise awareness and you talk about that, and as Muslims, especially, like when I would discuss it with my family or friends, it was just like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know. And I'm just like, okay, well, then it becomes interesting, because if a lot of people don't know what they're putting on their skin, but if they were aware of it and then they had a product, they would probably gravitate towards that. And even at that point, I'm talking like 14, 15 years ago, no inkling of how to start a business. I do not have any business background. We never went to school for business, so we didn't know anything, ABCs of starting a business, right? About 5 years ago, we, after hearing for many, many years that you guys should start selling, we kind of fell into it, and it kind of took off from there. And we were like, the market just, I guess, created itself because there was a need for it. And I think that's one of the most important things as a business owner, and as like, someone trying to create a brand, you have to find a need for it, right? Because if you have a need for it, if you feel that it's important, then I'm definitely sure there are other people who actually could use it too.
That was the other thing that I've seen in some of the interviews with you, is that you didn't even fully comprehend how big your audience for these products were going to be either. That not even for religious reason, but just from a practice perspective of wanting it to be cruelty free or synthetic free or that sort of thing, that was surprising to you in a way of just how many people were actually drawn to having this kind of product on the market.
Right. And I think this is a really good place to actually discuss what halal really means in terms of beauty and wellness. Basically, when we started making the things and selling them, our consumer demographic was literally Muslims, like any Muslim, because I didn't know anything about the business market. I didn't know how to do market research. I didn't know any of that. It just kind of was like, you know what? Okay, we're Muslims. We have a product. We'll sell to Muslims because it's halal. It's what we use. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that our biggest demographic was going to be non-Muslim. And because honestly, at that point, it was really obvious that halal is more of a universal concept. In the technical term, halal means, in Arabic, it means permissible. So in the Quran, in our holy scripture, it's similar to kosher. And it's basically that we cannot use alcohol or animal derivatives, specifically pork derivatives, and they're harmful for the body over time. And that's just like the baseline of it. But then when you get into realizing that your skin is the biggest organ, whatever you put on your skin is getting directly absorbed into your skin, combined with the fact that all of these toxic byproducts within the beauty and wellness industry, they also contribute to what you're consuming through your skin. Ethically sourced, animal cruelty, all of that stuff. I kept like hearing all these fragmented terms throughout like the beauty industry. Oh, it's got to be greed friendly. It shouldn't be animal tested. All the plastic waste is bad for the environment. It's unbelievable what we've done to the environment as humans. And one of those plastic pump bottles of lotion, just the regular body lotion that you get, it takes over 500 to 600 years to decompose, just one single one. And when you add together all the numbers, it's astounding the damage we've done. And I think it takes small steps to kind of reverse the damage, and just raising awareness and creating a space where people are aware and more conscious of the ingredients and the body care products that they're using, because it's a huge industry. There's so many products out there. Every little thing is packaged in plastic. The box, you'll notice the containers I have, they're basically just that container. There's no other packaging on top of it. Because what are you doing with that? You're throwing it in the trash.
Right, the plastic container that's inside the box, which is inside the plastic wrap,
Yes.
etc.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, just layers and layers and layers of just waste. So, all of that stuff. And I mean, so halal at that point really means like an umbrella term, encompasses everything. So, I want people to associate the concept of halal wellness or halal certification, and rest assured that that product that they're using is pretty much everything that they want, everything that's good for the environment, everything that's good for them.
Can you tell me a little bit about how that certification process works? Is it expensive to get that certification as a business? Are there certain companies or groups of people that are the certifiers that have to come in from a different state or a different country? How does that process break down, and how long does it take to do
It's
that?
a time-taken process. There is a council, and there's a few by now, like certifying companies, and basically they come in and check your entire facility, your manufacturing site, all the things that we use, including down to the bowls, including down to the brushes, because a lot of brushes, surprisingly, are made of boar bristles, right? So, I mean, very, very minute details. Like a list of every single ingredient that we're using, it has to be traced back to an ethical source. It was quite a long process, but we did it.
It really is incredible when you think about it, how neither you nor your husband were educated as far as business goes, which is very similar to my story as well. I went to school to become a teacher, and now I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm learning all these things for the first time, like marketing and sales and stuff that I was never trained to do. And that's quite the process. It's really incredible to think about your story of starting from, we know that there's this problem and we want to provide a solution, and we're going to learn as we go. And you're going through this pretty intensive certification process. I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
It's the thing that I actually love about entrepreneurship, is that it takes so much grit to keep going. And I'm not even a year in yet. And the number of waves and the ups and downs of the business already for me have been like, oh, maybe I should go back to teaching. Can you tell me about some of your highest highs in this journey so far, and some of the lows that you've experienced at
Yeah.
the same time?
I mean, there's a lot. Right off the bat, I think dealing with customers and talking to them and telling them about herbalism, and then ingredients that are really prominent in our culture and faith that have been working for millennia. I mean, for centuries, really, because basically our brand is more of a fusion of all the Eastern alternative therapies, such as Chinese medicine, Unani tib, or Islamic medicine. So it's like, I take the best of all of the things that have been working, and then now we have a unique product that combines the best of all of these things that have been working for years. Dealing with people who are suffering through dry hands, or like a big issue is like joint problems. So, for example, black seed, that's our signature oil. That's a huge, huge deal in our Islamic faith, and it's amazing for inflammation and carpal tunnel, arthritis, that kind of thing. And then when people use it, they find relief, and then they come back, find me at another pop-up market, or they reach out through our website and they're like, what is this stuff? It worked so well. I need like 5 more for my friends and whatnot. And that really makes me happy, because that was our goal, to be of service to others, to make things easier for others, because that's a big concept of Islam too, where you're of service to others. And finding out that I could do it through something that I love, natural skincare and wellness, and still be of benefit to others. I think that was one of the highest highs, I would have to say. Lowest lows, oh gosh, lots of lows too. Some markets, it's always hit or miss. Either you do really well, sometimes you don't do too well. Just trying to figure out everything. I think there's so much to learn and to do as an entrepreneur, especially when you don't have a background. Everything is like you're back in school, but then you're also running a business. And then you're, it's like a full-time academic career, honestly, because the amount of reading that I have to do to get one thing figured out, or FDA regulations or licensing. Yeah, it blows my mind how much research goes into one aspect of a business. Not to say that I haven't had help. I mean, I think being in the Minnesota startup community speaks volumes. Like, I mean, there are some amazing resources out there that are super helpful. We did a lot of accelerator programs, we did a lot of seminars and workshops that really, really elevated my experience as an entrepreneur, I would say. Just taught me a lot of how many resources there are, especially for women founded businesses, for small businesses that are BIPOC or minorities. I think that really did help.
I don't know if you're familiar with the ladies over at Kobe Co. They're a candle company. Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I interviewed them for one of my earlier podcasts actually, and they said the exact same thing, that they feel really fortunate regarding how many resources there are in Minnesota for female or BIPOC
Oh, yeah.
owned
Yeah.
businesses. That's incredible.
And I think with awareness comes the willingness to help others too. I think just the world is really becoming aware that there are not a lot of women founders. And now I think the goal of a lot of organizations is to actually bring that focus to women, to diverse owners, to minority owners. I basically came here when I was a kid. I moved to the United States as an immigrant family. And at that time, never would I have thought that we would launch a brand and we'd have it in stores, or we'd be selling online, or we'd be dealing with small businesses and stuff. So it's really, really been an amazing journey.
Do you feel like that's something that's super unique to the United States in terms of the ability to start something like that?
Well, actually, that's a great question. So, if I had been living in a place with predominantly people of my own faith or beliefs, I may not have had that question, why isn't it on the market? Because everybody else is in the same boat. They were all using the same thing. Being in an environment where you're the minority, it makes you ask a lot of questions, right? And just having those resources. At that time when I was there, when I was younger, I don't know if there were that many resources. It may have changed now. I think there is a lot more resources and a lot more culture towards becoming a founder in those countries as well, in Pakistan as well. But I mean, it's already pretty well settled here, like well established here. And then again, going back to being a minority, just having that drive, because not everybody is like you, right? And then you want to be able to introduce your own culture and your beliefs, and having that source of diversity out there too. I think that does make a difference.
Community built through entrepreneurship is so important. And I know I saw the Reviving Sisterhood, which it sounds like is trying to build community around Muslim voices. Can you tell me a little more about what does that group mean to you, and what do you kind of see becoming of that group as you go forward?
So Rise, or Reviving the Islamic Sisterhood, they are an organization that really elevate Muslim voices for women, especially. Amazing organization. Check them out if you can. They basically were pretty much one of the first cheerleaders for us when we started as a brand. Just kind of, connected us and referred us to some organizations and accelerator programs. So I really, really appreciated that. They're basically a community of women who help out other women in whatever regards possible. So great resource as a Muslim, as an entrepreneur. They have like so many people from within different industries who are just there to elevate your experience as an entrepreneur, as a teacher, as whatever it may be. So just really nice in that sense.
And it seems like they're doing some conferences or small workshops or things like that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They have been around for a few years, just really doing a lot of conferences and just workshops and seminars. I think they're doing a wellness retreat soon. So yeah, there's quite a few things going on.
I was just subbing the other day at our local middle school, and I overheard some girls talking about something as it related to the president. And one of the girls says, "Well, I'm definitely running for president when I'm older." And I heard another girl say to her, "Well, the odds of you becoming president, like next to nothing."
Oh,
And like as you talk about these women who are coming together to elevate their voices, not just as Muslims, but as females. Like, we need so much more of that, because you have a daughter, I have a daughter. Listening to those girls in that middle school, say that was like a dagger to the heart, that, just being a woman, period, it's very hard for your voice to be heard.
right. And again, that goes back to becoming a parent, where when I had my daughter, who is 14 now, I it was very like a mixed kind of feelings for me at that time, because I wanted her to have the best of the best, obviously, as you would do with any of your children. But then at the same time, I realized the restrictions that we have as females as well. All the grants that are out there, I think there's like a very small number that is designated for female founders. I mean, we have to work twice, if not four times, 10 times as hard to to do anything, whether it's, most of us are managing families, most of us are managing
Mhm.
work, most of us are doing multiple jobs, and it's a thankless job. And then on top of that, we want to go after our dreams and ambitions, so that becomes another layer of added responsibilities, and to juggle it all and still not get any recognition or not as much help as our male counterparts would be getting, it's an
Mhm.
eye-opening experience, really.
And it's going to take several generations of women like you and the other women that are in these organizations, especially for people that are minorities as well, in addition to being female, to continue to try to get those voices out there. I mean, it'll take generations before that is going to change, but again, it has to start somewhere.
It has to start somewhere, and I think we owe it to our ancestors and all the people who have worked so hard in our families. Like, again, being from an immigrant background, like
Mhm.
having all those people work that hard. I mean, I'm sure they all had dreams and ambitions that they had to put on hold. They had to make sacrifices. So if we are not able to stand up and make any changes, I mean, then we're not really contributing or like giving
Mhm.
ourselves to their legacy, so I mean, it's really
Mhm.
really up to us to make small changes. Nothing's happening overnight, right? It
Yeah.
takes, like, honestly, I read somewhere that in any environment or in any place, to make a social change, it takes 100 years of work before you can see that change happening. A
Oh,
100 years
wow.
is yeah, it's a very long time. So yeah, nothing is happening overnight, but we really do need to start somewhere. Whether
Mhm.
it's, it's as a Muslim mom, as a non-Muslim mom, as an immigrant parent, or whatever, it has to start with little small steps.
Because otherwise 100 years from now, it will look the same
It will look
if you
different.
don't.
Absolutely.
Just like
Absolutely.
the environment, right? It you won't change it overnight, but if you don't start making small changes now, then we know exactly what it's going to likely look like in 100 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
It's a very small thing. It's very, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's like invisible, really. But one of the things that we try to do to help the environment is I try not to do business cards. I just have like this poster board for our signage. And then I have people take a picture of that if they want to follow us on social media or look at our website, because every single card, it goes in their purse or their bag. And then what's happening with that? It's ending up in the trash. You're looking at the printing cost, you're looking at the delivery cost, you're looking at just the environmental damage cost, right?
Mhm.
Whereas you could take a picture of something, follow, check out the website, and the picture, you delete it off your phone. Done. I really wish that a lot of other businesses would follow the same. I mean, I understand that there are circumstances where it's hard to do that. Not to say
Mhm.
that we don't have print brochures, we do, but I'm very selective about who I'm giving it to. Not, if anyone can take a picture of it, by all means, please do so.
I think anymore with technology, really, we don't have an excuse to have to use so many products that do just get tossed in the trash. I mean, you think about QR codes, that can take you to anywhere, and all you have to do, like you said, is display a QR code, or they can take a picture of it with their phone and avoid so much unnecessary trash
I
and waste.
absolutely agree with just with the world heading towards the age of artificial intelligence and technology being where it is, it's growing exponentially, and we should use that to our advantage. As entrepreneurs, we should use every single bit of technology to make it better for the environment. Whether it's sharing information about what your brand does, whether it's sharing your website, any possible way.
Absolutely agree, and I love that you are bringing so much awareness, not even just to skincare products, but just the consumption aspect as well. I think a lot of times we just get caught up in our day-to-day lives and we consume, and it just seems easy, and you forget that with everything that we consume, there's always a cost, and I like that you're bringing so much awareness to that because, again, it starts with the small things.
Traditionally, beauty and wellness rites and traditions, they were used as a way of calming the body down and just relaxing. And here we are in this day and age, we're doing the exact opposite. We put on a serum on our face and we want like 30-second results, like instant gratification. And that shows through our social media usage, through any part of our lives, we want it instantly. That's why cortisol levels are so high. People are stressed out. They're running into health problems because they want things right now, right away. Whereas these wellness traditions and alternative therapies for making yourself feel better, they're supposed to be completely opposite and a slow, very relaxing experience. When you go to a spa, imagine, or if you're sitting in the sauna, imagine if the attendant or the person rushed you through everything and got you out the door in 30 seconds. You'd be like, what did I even pay for? Right? So, I mean, that's
Worst spa ever.
worst spa ever, really bad Yelp reviews and whatnot. Um, but just slow down, enjoy the beauty ritual. Like, I mean, our lotion bars, they're meant to slowly absorb into your skin. They're not meant to be like put on and then you forget about it. No, you're supposed to massage the pressure points. You're supposed to like activate all the nerves and everything just so you actually experience the full experience,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah, and then it then actually gets an opportunity to work how it's supposed to work because you're
Yes.
taking the time to make it work that way.
Yeah, the mind body connection, right? You're
Yes.
activating not just the body or the physical aspect of it, you're putting your mind into it too. And then when your mind is into it, it automatically makes a difference.
You said that you use a merger of different types of medicines. So can you tell me a little bit about, like, how all those concepts merge and then the products themselves?
When I was growing up, the only way to access these beauty products or herbs or tinctures was to go to like a store, like an ethnic store, and there would be dusty shelves filled with half torn boxes or just very not attractive or aesthetically pleasing packaging. And I had no other way of retrieving or getting those products. Most of the time, we would either go back home to Pakistan and pick up those things, or that was the other option if I wanted it here. Humans like pretty things.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
like nice packaging. And then obviously with using things on your body, it has to follow FDA regulations. It has to follow a certain sterile and, hygienic way of preparation. It can't be just thrown together and Bob's your uncle kind of thing.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, that's kind of where it stemmed from. Just having traditional wellness but packaged in a way that's aesthetically pleasing, that is easy to use, that is eco-friendly. I mean, it took me a really long time to figure out that those containers were the best. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
that's one thing that we didn't compromise on, was making sure to take our time. And I mean, I feel like that's again resonates with our whole concept of just taking it slow and easy, where we took our time to figure out what the packaging and the labeling and the colors and all of that stuff. It had to give off a certain vibe, and that's where that modern beauty standard came into effect.
You're right. If I were to be walking down shelves, the first thing you notice isn't the ingredients list. You're noticing
Yeah.
it's the colors, it's the
Yeah.
logo, it's the name, it's the pretty flower that's on the
Yeah.
box.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all of it. I mean, and like a lot of the stuff that I actually do use, I even tell people to hold on to it and display it in their home, like the packaging and everything, or use it as
Oh,
like a container for something else, because they are reusable. You don't have to throw them away. We do like a reusable a refill, where you have a lotion bar, you are done with the product, just hold on to the container and just order a refill next time. So I mean, little things like that.
I really like the idea of the reusable containers. My daughter, gets so much use out of our egg cartons. I mean, she just like and she'll put, like, her special little rock collection in there or
Mhm.
whatever. Like, there's all sorts of things that we use containers for that, if you can make it multi-purpose, it makes it even better.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all about multi-purpose usage. Oh, for sure.
I don't use a ton of products because of my skin sensitivity and also just the extent of my makeup routine is like mascara.
Mhm.
um, but how do you, being a mom of a daughter, what would be a skincare routine that you think is ideal for caring for our skin?
Again, great question. The point that I want to highlight is it starts from within. There's a lot of
Mhm.
junk food going on, there's a lot of additives and food dyes. All of that stuff eventually does show up on the skin. And you have the hormonal acne, you have the pore issues, you have clogged pores, whatnot. So all of it, a lot of it stems from what is being consumed in the body.
Mm.
Then the next thing is washing the face, actually, like regularly washing the face, whereas just applying something and then just kind of rubbing it in. Washing the face makes a huge difference. Soap is something that is not the best for faces because it's just too harsh. Like I said, a lot of the bars of soap that are out there, cleansers, they're just made of literally detergent ingredients that are like the sulfates and the the laureth sulfates and stuff. Those are harsh ingredients. You really don't need to be using those. Something that I would recommend from within our brand would be we have like herbal face polishes that are meant to be used as herbal cleansers. There's absolutely no soap in there. It's just grains and clays and different herbs in there, plant-based herbs that you mix into a powder. It's like a dry powder form, and you just add the liquid of your choice because you want to activate the ingredients when you're using them to retain their potency. They're just like, powders, and you just mix it in the palm of your hand. You wash your face with it. Daily washing is, I think, really helpful, and moisturizing. We just brought out our face cream because that was one of the things that people really wanted, was something for their face. We had a face oil before, but I figured that a lot of people are familiar with actual lotions. That's like a familiar ingredient that they've grown up with. So I have been working on that for a while. So that's one of the recent things that we came out with. Just making sure that the skin is clean and clear. You hear about all these like 12-step beauty routines for 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds. I mean, it's shocking to me because little kids don't need to be using that. They really don't. And as long as they're eating clean, as long as they're washing their face regularly, that's really all you need. I mean, we have been abusing our bodies, I think, by an overconsumption of beauty products and wellness products. And it should be just basic. It doesn't have to be like 10 different lotions and potions and 15 fragrances. Like even the oils, like the fragrance oils that are in the products, the body sprays, they all contribute to health problems. They affect us on an endocrine level, like a reproductive level, because our sense of smell, that's also part of the body. It all makes a difference.
Our bodies are actually pretty good at taking care of themselves, like knowing what to do.
Yeah.
But we overwhelm them with all of this stuff. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, now I don't know what to do with you because you're
Yeah.
not helping me out here.
Because and like you said, we're basically overwhelming our bodies. Our bodies are designed, they're hardwired to go back to a state of homeostasis. They're designed to heal. The cells within our body, they're designed to heal themselves. We just put so much in our bodies and on our bodies and surround ourselves with so many environmental factors that actually deter that from happening. If you stop doing a lot of the stuff, like stop eating processed foods, processed chemicals, like surrounding ourselves with them, our bodies would be much healthier just by doing that alone.
When you think about it too, I mean, the food products that have the most waste, right? It's highly
Yes.
processed food items,
Yes,
really,
it's
for the
all the
most part.
crinkly plastic and the preservation methods. I mean, it's really scary too. Like you could have a box of cereal sitting in your pantry for like months and nothing happens to it. I would say it's a food byproduct. That's not real food though, right?
No,
Yeah.
that's definitely, yeah, not natural.
Not
It's
natural.
not
Versus
how
if
it's
you
supposed to
had
work.
like a bowl of oatmeal sitting, something would happen to it. A reaction would happen to it because that's what's meant to happen to it.
Yes.
It's fascinating. People don't realize how connected all these things are, but there is the connection, the mind body connection. What you're putting inside your body will show up in your skin. Usually with acne and stuff, that's stress, especially when teenagers are in high school. Like I've been noticing with my older two, they're in middle school and high school, and they'll get a flare up of acne here and there. And I'm just like, the first question is, I'm like, did you not wash your face? I'm like, are you stressed out about something? Is there a big test coming up? There's usually some factor behind it.
The catch-22, I guess, of having a mom who's very
Oh my
aware
gosh. Yeah,
aware of the
I
repercussions.
make them go through quite a lot of mud masks and whatnot. So
Yeah, I love that so much. It's interesting too, because I think so often we think of skincare, and maybe this is just because I'm a mom of a daughter as well, but we don't often think of it for boys.
that's funny that you're bringing this up. I was just having a conversation with another colleague recently about how she bought a toner, like our hydrating toner, for herself. And then her teenage son, he was breaking out and she used it on him. And she didn't tell him what it was. Because she's like, if I had said that it was like a face toner, he automatically would have said no. She's like, I just put it on his face a couple days and it really helped his skin. And he was like, Mom, what is this? And so then she told him. And that really, really opened my eyes. Is why is wellness so focused on gender? We're humans. We have skin. Men and women, females and males, we have skin. You take care of it. It's basic personal hygiene. It has nothing to do with what your gender is. And that's what I try to tell my son and my husband both. They're both like, "Oh, we're not going to use this." I'm like, "Dude, it's like your skin. You don't need to worry about it." Like when I do a lot of pop-up markets, it's funny. The families that are walking by, the women will come and try all the lotions and the men are just kind of holding their bags and just kind of standing in the back. I'm like, "You're welcome to try it too. It's not going to hurt you." If anything, you'll have
Oh,
some. You're like, "No, I have the worst cracked hands." I'm like, "Perfect. You really do need it."
yeah, and I'm sure then they just kind of chuckle, "Oh, no, 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 I'm
Yeah.
okay."
Yeah. No, and then their female counterparts, they make them try it.
I love that. And then they'll secretly end up becoming a big fan of the product behind the scenes. They might just not acknowledge
Yeah.
that they use it.
Well, especially when you look at the usability of it, it's something that you don't have to reapply all the time. It's not water based. So, like our lotion bars, that's our signature product. They're basically rich and dense in terms of oils and butters and waxes. So, you put them on. I tell people, I'm like, you can put it on your nightstand, put it on at night, let it absorb in, and you won't need to keep reapplying through the day because it's not a water based product where it washes off. You have to let your skin slowly soak it in. It works and heals from the inside out. So that really, really does become like an attractive aspect for them where they're not constantly having to put it on.
I didn't think about the water aspect, that being the main contributor of having to reapply all the time.
Yeah. and being the main reason that where you'd have to add like a lot of artificial preservatives. So that eliminates the need for all of that as well.
Give me an example of an oil like olive oil, or what would be the base in that you would be
Oh,
using?
like within our lotion bars?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually do a whole blend of oils and waxes. Like for example, I have cocoa butter and shea butter along with beeswax, but then I also have like a whole like 4 or 5 different oils. And those are
Okay.
just like, for the moisturizing aspect at that point. Then I have all the therapeutic oils in there. Like eucalyptus mint helps with pain relief. Black seed helps with like arthritis and inflammation. And then the moringa and the jasmine moringa lotion bar, it's really high in vitamin C, so it helps with brightening the skin tone. And then you have the aromatherapy benefits. So when you smell citrus and basil, or when you smell rosemary and mint, they actually activate your feel good hormones. They work on the central nervous system to elevate your mood. So, I mean, it's just layers and layers and layers. It's pretty
Mhm.
awesome.
So instead of then it being more of a synthetic fragrance, it's a legitimate fragrance that
It is.
actually has, like, that positive mind-body
Yes.
connection
Yes.
again.
Yes. A botanical extract that's ethically sourced. It's an actual plant derivative versus being a synthetic derivative.
Do you think that as an industry, it's heading a more positive direction, maybe departing a little bit from some of the synthetics and the fake aspects because there are more and more people out there that are seeking those products compared to in the past? Where do you kind of see the future going for your business, but also for the industry?
I feel like people are, by people, I mean consumers and also the companies who are producing these things, like the bigger companies, they are all very well aware of the benefit of natural alternatives. But unfortunately, I feel that there's still a lag in terms of how we're getting about to it. Like, I feel like with the products that you see within retail shelves, there's still a lot of greenwashing going on. It looks like it's a great product, but when you flip it over and if somebody knows the ingredients, like right away, whenever I see something like that, I look at the ingredient list and it's like a mile long with parabens and this ethyl and this and that. And it's just like, why are you trying to make money off of something that you're saying is beneficial for the environment or beneficial for consumers? So I just think
Mm,
that there's still a lag in that department. But at the same time, consumers who are actually aware of these ingredients who actually really do care about themselves and like the environment and want to make a difference, they know that the small business owners, the fresh ingredients, the people who are making small batches, like I mean I do a lot of small batch fresh ingredient inventory and products because I don't want to have things just sitting out there, and
mm.
I just wanted to sell and get it out to people while it's as fresh as possible. So I think people who are aware of all of these things, they actually make an effort to support small businesses and purchase from them directly, because those are the people who are buying from local communities and making sure that it's a sustainable product and that it has like a lesser environmental aspect. Like, I mean, for example, something to think about when we buy things from within our local community. Like, I mean, I buy a lot of our beeswax from like local beekeepers very close to the farms in Minnesota.
Oh, sure.
But if I were to buy it from overseas, imagine all the freight costs and all the fossil fuels that are burned to actually transport. So, I mean, it's
Mm.
just the grand impact of all of those things. And having that awareness, people will make that connection and will make an effort to buy from the smaller businesses.
When you think about going back to being local and having that mindset, whether it's supporting a local farmer and you're getting your meat from them or your eggs or your honey or the beeswax or whatever, it is really amazing how when you get back to supporting local, first, less waste in general, but also communities have what we need to
Yeah.
help sustain each other. But we've departed so much from relying on community and instead, yeah, products lining the shelves or going to the grocery store and not knowing where our food is coming from. We're very disconnected and it's so disheartening, like you said, but also we have to vote with our dollars in order for that change to take place.
And don't get me wrong, there are some of the things that I use that I cannot find here that I do have to outsource from back home. But in even in that, I make sure that I'm directly dealing with small business owners or like farmers that are directly selling versus a middleman and who takes all the money. So I
Mm,
mean, yes, there are definitely things that I'm not able to find here, but at least even in supporting that international business economy, at least it's directly going to an individual. And I think
mhm.
just speaking of the disconnect that you're talking about, I really do agree with that. We're meant to enjoy what we're using on our bodies. We're meant to slow down. We're just that whole concept of rushing through the day, just get up in the morning and rush, 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 eat, throw on some clothes and slap this on and this and that, rush out the door. I mean, it's really wreaking havoc on our systems, like within our generation. Like I feel there's a lot of diseases that have come up, a lot of mental health issues, and a lot of different issues that weren't there, I want to say even 100, even 50 years ago. And I think we really need to like look around and take into account on how we can manage that and how to make it better.
I was just listening to a podcast about seeing anxiousness popping up in teenagers up through like college age. And this particular individual did a lot of studies around social media and phones and technology and things like that. But in listening to what you're saying, it isn't any just one thing. Like
Right.
it's a combination of factors. Not that I disagree. I think technology definitely is a contributing factor, but you're right, it's so much more than that. It's the food that we're putting on our bodies, which we have a reaction to mentally, physically, and the products we're putting on our skin too.
You know, you talked about having really sensitive skin in the beginning when we started talking. You talked about how, you break out in hives. A lot of times the smells, like, the fragrances and what
Yes.
we're putting on, your body treats it as a foreign object. That's
Mhm.
literally what's happening. It's trying to get rid of it because it knows automatically. Remember how we talked about that our bodies are innately designed to heal themselves. So if there's
Yes.
something that it doesn't like, that's where the allergic reaction comes from. And you break out in
Mm.
hives or you get allergies where you're getting like like runny eyes and stuff. They're all signs there, but it's just that we're so bogged down with everything else that we're not
Yeah.
listening to our bodies. Sometimes there are foods that you eat that actually make your stomach feel upset or bloated or this and that. It's not what your body wants, right?
Mhm.
And that's your body's way of telling you, please don't eat this, this is not good for you, please don't put this on me, this is not good for me. But here we are doing it over and over again.
And
Yeah.
then it's gonna punish you, right, for doing it anyways, and then you're mad at your body
Yeah.
because you're like, "Oh, why am I
Well, we're
feeling this
we're
way?"
punishing our poor bodies as it is.
And what you said about the fragrance thing, that is what it has boiled down to for a lot of things for me, like in detergents, in lotions. I can't really do a lot of perfumes. I've really had to shift over to more like an essential oil type
Yeah.
of system,
Mhm.
even like deodorant. I mean, and you think about all the things that include all these really, really harmful ingredients. And I was just interviewing a dietitian for my podcast, and she was even talking about alcohol, which was interesting that you said you need to avoid alcohol products, consuming them or having them in products, because alcohol is in so many things. But even in consuming alcohol, it's a poison. Like that's how
It
our
is.
body treats it.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
dries out the skin. It messes up your clothes. I mean, I don't know what good it does in putting it on our bodies, but we're using it. And then when there's products that are not meant to be mixed together, when they're processed, that's when alcohol is used to kind of, create a homogeneous solution. But then they shouldn't be mixed in the first place. So when you read
Mhm.
about herbalism, there's a lot of things that in Eastern herbalism, it tells us not to consume in like a fragmented form. For example, you want to eat an egg, eat the whole thing. Don't eat just the egg whites or don't eat just that, because long term, it's going to cause an unbalanced situation in your body. So you don't want to deal with that. And that's what
Mhm.
you're doing when you add alcohol to a lot of things. You're just mixing a lot of things that are not meant to be mixed together. And then you're putting them on your body. And then your body has a reaction. And you're like, well, I don't know what happened. Again, a lot of connections.
We're all part of the natural world. It's all about balance. And so
Mhm.
just like you're talking about with the egg whites and the yolks, they both serve their different purposes. And
Right.
together it's what makes them the beautiful combination, a source of nutrition.
Yeah.
And yet you're right. If you fragment those, you're missing out on the benefits.
Yes, absolutely. I know that there are some health problems where people are not allowed to eat a certain food or it messes up with their systems. But at the same time, if you go back in the day, 50, 100 years ago, people were eating everything because
Mhm.
it was locally produced. It was made without pesticides. It was made without a lot of those growth hormones or steroids. They were surviving. They were in much better health than we are right now.
We have a lot of work to do.
We do, and I think it's just we're on the right track. I think it's just
Mhm.
that continuing to raise awareness and making sure that there are alternatives available within our journey.
Yes. I'm grateful that you saw a problem and decided to come up with a solution for that, because really that's what it takes. That it takes more of us saying this is a problem. Let's come up with a solution for that. That we can do better, you
Absolutely,
know.
I agree. Growing up, my parents were always like, "Well, if you can't figure something out, don't just say I can't do it. Just keep working on it." That was one of the things that I tell my kids too. I'm like, what? Why are you saying no? You can't do something. Be like, figure it out, or just take some time, think about it. There's always a solution. There's always an alternative. Honestly, even just like
Yeah.
from a business perspective, like not knowing what the next step is, not knowing what we should be doing. And there are times where I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have figured this out like last year.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh no, I'm like months and months behind schedule. But that's how it is, I guess.
What would be your advice to other women out there that see a problem, that want to create a solution, intimidated about starting a business? What would be your advice to them, or what is something that you want them to know?
It's important to be authentic. It's important to be genuine in getting your message across. Whatever product or service you were thinking of selling or, getting out there as a business, you'll notice a lot of small business owners, they have a very common theme of having a problem and finding a solution to it. So I think that's a great place to start. The idea here is obviously there's finances and money, and obviously all of that is involved because you need that to have a business and to promote the business and to work on the business and for all the products. But more than anything else, just being authentic and just having a genuine message behind what you're trying to do. And just make sure that you are making an effort to give back to the community as well, that you're helping out others versus it just being like a sole entrepreneurship where all the money and the funds are coming back to you. I think that's really important too. For example, one of the first things that we started doing after we made our first sale, we made the decision a percentage of our sales would go to charities to help out people hit by disasters, because why not? If we can't help each other out, then that's really kind of just defeats the whole purpose.
Generosity first, business second.
I think so. And I think it always
Mhm.
does pay back. Like, I mean, karma or whatever you want to call it, or just giving back, I think it comes back tenfold. I really do. And
Yep.
it not in just matters of money too. I mean, and that's a really big concept again within Islam, that, I mean, divine, like abundance, just like you give and then you get back.
That was one of the big things that resonated with me a lot when I had talked with the gals over at Kobe Co as well, and now you too, and just hearing the generosity that comes from these small businesses really from the beginning, when arguably it's the hardest to give, right? Because it takes a lot of effort and time to get that first sale. And so
Yeah.
then the idea of, okay, now I'm going to give that up and go donate that over here, can be really hard. And I know they have like a scholarship fund for families that are victims of gun violence and things like that. And so it's so important for your business to have a higher purpose than just making money.
Absolutely. That should absolutely be the goal. Having a
Mhm.
higher purpose and leaving behind a legacy. We're all going to die and disappear, be gone
Yeah.
from the earth, right? So we want to leave behind a positive impact. We have all the material needs, like an abundance of material needs
Mhm.
around us, really.
Absolutely.
And I mean, just to slow down and be thankful and to offer gratitude and to think of someone who may not have it. And if you have something extra, just being able to help them out.
Absolutely. I think that it does so much to connect you to other humans and see the hardships that other people face, whether it's a natural disaster, whatever the situation may be, gun violence, etc. I
Yeah.
think it connects you to other humans, and I think too it can help you in your day-to-day mindset as well,
Hmm.
of seeing and practicing that gratitude for the things that we do have, which when you don't practice giving, I think sometimes it's too easy to just kind of exist and then start to feel sorry for ourselves in
Yeah.
ways that we really have no right to
Right.
do in a lot of
In a
situations.
lot of when the whole Palestine and the Gaza situation
Mm,
escalated back in
yep.
October, for the longest time I was shut down on social media. I didn't know what to write or what to post. I was like, how can I do any of this? Well, so many people are suffering. But then I came up with a lotion bar that was inspired by a lot of the scents there, like the oud and like the Middle Eastern inspired vibes there.
Mm,
And that was a completely 100% donation. And you will not believe, like, I made it the stock, I put it online, we sold out within 5 days. So I mean, that really really opened my eyes in terms of how people are giving. People want to help other people out.
mhm,
All these geographical boundaries and political red tape. I mean, we're better than that, honestly. I,
mhm,
I really truly believe that humans are better than that. And we're,
mhm,
unfortunately, we kind of are living in a world where we have to deal with it, but there are still people who truly truly know humanity within their hearts. And I mean,
mhm.
every single time I've made a batch of those, it has sold out like within a week. And
That's incredible. Like you're saying, people want to help.
it's fascinating that we're talking about this because I read that having negative emotions or negative thought actually alters your brain patterns as well. When you have gratitude and positivity, it actually alters your brain perception. So when we are positive and welcoming and open to others, our brains are automatically less stressed, our bodies are automatically less stressed. And it's all connected. Our brain and our bodies have a really, really good way of letting us know that our mindset is not right, because we're meant to be open and positive with each other. And when anything that kind of takes us off track, our body lets us know.
Big red flag here.
Big red flag here. Don't do that.
Oh, I love it. So if someone wanted to get more in alignment with their bodies with your products, where are they able to find you?
I think our online store, the website, is the best place. You can order directly or follow us on Instagram. And I keep posting different pop-ups and markets that we're doing. So you can buy them directly from me wherever I'm at.
Wonderful. Well, I really loved chatting with you today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for wandering with me today. If you were inspired by this episode and think it would ignite a spark in a friend, don't hesitate to share. And if you're craving more from the Wander Mode community, hop on over to Instagram at WanderModeCo. Meet you in the next episode, and until then, wander on.